Nerdcast assemble!
Stay dandy, baby. The God of High School, the premier action anime of 2020, goes out with a bang in its very first season finale, and it's exactly what you would expect from a show which is completely over the top with its action and its storytelling. Everything in this episode was insane, kicked up to brand new, godlike levels of production value. And while the fighting was incredibly insane and made no sense whatsoever, it was incredibly entertaining. If you were hoping for some major answers as to what's truly going on in the world of the God of High School, you might find yourself being a little disappointed. But if you just wanted to see a lot of really wild action, this might be the finale for you. And for me, it certainly rocked my jollies. This was just a really fun episode, bringing together the best characters of the series, in particular, the main characters, Mori, Daewoo, and Mira, and even throwing in characters like Ilpio just for good measure as they battled against Jegal Taek, who has transformed into a demonic, angelic, godlike being and basically is planning on taking over the entire planet with his brand new godlike powers, and he is devastatingly powerful, but of course it's the power of friendship that ends up winning the day. They even use a cheesy song to make it happen, one that I felt that honestly didn't really fit the scene all that much, but for the most part, it's exactly what you would expect from a final episode of a major arc or from the season, and in many ways, it was incredibly satisfying. I think the best thing about this episode, of course, is getting to learn the real truth about Jin Mori, that unlike the other characters who are using Karyok to actually borrow the power of the gods, he himself is quite literally a living god, and as the series has been building up and toying with, he basically is the Monkey King. So if you're familiar with stories like Journey to the West, or if you're like me and you're a big fan of Dragon Ball, you're probably going to get a lot of appreciation from this episode, because basically the episode starts out with Daewoo and Mira just getting completely wrecked by Jegal, and that's when Mori decides to come in, and eventually it reaches a point where he activates his godlike power, transforming into the Monkey King. He even has like the crown and everything, and he even summons his power pole, which is known as the Nioibo, and this is exactly like it is in Journey of the West, and it's also reminiscent highly of what Goku used in the original Dragon Ball series. To Western fans, they know it as the power pole, but if you actually watch it in Japanese, he does refer to it as the Nioibo. Hell, Mori even ends up using the flying Nimbus, just in a very different fashion. He still calls it the Quinto Un, which is what it's also called originally in the Dragon Ball manga and anime series, but basically he uses it to summon a massive lightning cloud which just roasts Jegal in one shot. And again, I'm not really talking about the action in the episode because it's just insane. I mean, it speaks for itself when you see it. It's really well done. It's super fast-paced, hard-hitting, and very fast-moving, to the point where it's the type of episode that you're gonna want to rewatch over and over again, if only to see all of the smaller details and all the really cool moments. Just trust me when I say that it is pretty freaking awesome. But the moment that Mori transforms into the Monkey King is basically where the battle basically goes into his favor, and he just absolutely ends up wrecking Jegal. If I did have one favorite scene, it was probably the moment where he used the Nioibo to actually like slam directly into Jegal, throwing him up into the sky as he actually rode it as it was extending into the air, and he continuously punched him, getting revenge for all of his friends. It was just really cool looking and a very nice inventive use of that weapon, which I thought was great. Also, just when he summoned that for the first time, how it just appeared as like this like massive, almost tower-like object that he suddenly was able to shrink down into his actual staff. That was freaking awesome as well. It was great, but as Jegal is seemingly defeated, he suddenly goes into berserker mode, where all of the weird, creepy people that he's absorbed have suddenly started to like pop out from his back. He looks like a creature transforming from Resident Evil, and suddenly transforms into a giant monster version of himself, and that's where Mori is joined by Daewoo and Mira and even Ilpio as they come together using all of their powers, whether it be Karyok or just the power of the Monkey King or the Nine-Tailed Fox, and they just go to town on Jegal. They absolutely wreck his shit, and it looks really awesome. Like I said, my only complaint about the scene is the music. I just don't think it fit the scene as well. Maybe they could have used the opening contradiction. I felt like that would have been a little more appropriate and maybe just, punching up the scene just a little bit more. But basically, it ends with him being defeated, and he basically, starts to dry up, and then suddenly Mori finishes him off with these dragon kicks, which basically rip through his body and go up into the sky, leaving the imprint of dragon-like looking clouds. And everybody's probably wondering, what the hell just happened? It was crazy, to say the least. So, at first they make it seem like Jegal is actually going to be redeemed, and he's actually going to end up being saved by his friends, and it seemed like something that I really kind of was hoping to see, because I wanted to see more of Jegal, to be perfectly honest, because while they gave us his backstory and everything, he wasn't that well developed of a character, and basically they just touted him as the main villain of this arc here, but he basically allows himself to be devoured essentially by his very own power, and the key power ends up going back to Ilpio, because apparently he is the defender of it. That's kind of his role. That's exactly what he's going to have to do, and then suddenly the series just brings in a big bucket of exposition and decides to just dump it all over the rest of the episode, trying to explain some of the things that are going on here, like introducing us to another member of the Six, this one woman who goes by the name of Kim, who really does not like Mori because she continuously beats the ever-living shit out of him, but apparently her role is to give the wish to someone who ends up, going through the whole God of High School tournament. And at first, Mori really wants to see his grandfather when he realizes that he can actually use this wish to save everyone who is injured in this battle, like Ilpio's cousin Sunga and their other teammate, and he ends up doing this, and everybody's all hunky-dory, and everything is great, and then suddenly, that's when we start to learn a little bit more about everything that's going on in this world, but not before Mori takes a really long nap. Basically, at this moment, he essentially just sort of knocks out and goes into a 3-month sleep, and everybody else sort of carries on 3 months later with showing us the results of this massive battle and the destruction of everything that happened in Seoul. For the most part, everybody goes about living their normal lives. But we get to see that they're planting the seeds for future storylines, like the fact that Nox is still up to trouble. It looks like they're trying to infiltrate the Korean government and try to take it over from the inside. Mandiok looks like he's trying to do something, and it looks like he's being watched by one of the members of the commissioners. So basically they got them in there as a mole to kind of watch him. At least that's the interpretation that I'm actually getting from that scene. The older member of the Six, who taught Mori all of his acupuncture techniques, is having a sort of funeral ceremony for his good friend Jason. And we get to see them sort of reunite with all their other teammates, and all that stuff is all well and good, and we even get to learn some other big details about Mori as well. Basically, at the end of this battle, we get to see that he's not using Karyok exactly, but his memories are sort of mixed with his current self and his former self being the actual Monkey King, and in order to actually find out these secrets, he's actually going to have to return to his homeland. And he actually does have a very specific name. I believe it's Seitan Taisei. I believe that's actually what the name of the Monkey King is, and they're gonna have to go, and they're gonna have to try and find him. And they also get to see that the remnants of this key is scattered all over the planet. So basically, it's really turning into Dragon Ball now. They're gonna have to go and find all this stuff and go on a crazy adventure. It's also gonna be a great excuse for training and character development. Basically, this entire first arc was essentially just a prologue to what the entire series is going to be all about. And no surprise, very similar to Tower of God, another manhwa Korean manga series, it's doing the same thing. It's basically just a prologue to something much larger. Of course, to my knowledge, the God of High School is something that's been going on for a very long time. There's a lot more to actually build up and show in the future of the series, and I really do hope that it's actually going to return, because there's just so much more room for what could be happening later in the series, especially with the way that it all ends on a massive cliffhanger, showing that Jin Mori's grandfather is still alive, severely injured, and apparently is going to be some sort of sacrifice from Nox, and might end up having to actually fight his very own grandson, which at this point, is going to get really freaking crazy. So, what's the rundown on the final episode of the first season of The God of High School? It was an exhausting episode, to say the least, if only for the fact that it was non-stop action for about 90% of it. And in that sense, it's exactly what I think fans of The God of High School have been wanting, and it's what's made this entire season so fun to watch in the first place, is all of its over-the-top action. I do have to be perfectly honest, and this is just my opinion, yours may differ. I still prefer the more grounded fights in The God of High School. Whenever there are characters in a ring having a hand-to-hand fight, I always felt that it looked just a little better. That being said, it's not to say that these giant godlike battles aren't exciting. They're incredibly cool. They're just not reinventing the wheel all that much. While the series is definitely known for its pretty good and smooth animation, there are definitely some moments within this episode, and even the last couple of episodes that I've noticed upon rewatching, where things get a little choppy at times to the point where it's not exactly the best looking show in the world. That being said, it's still pretty high caliber stuff and is just so fast paced and over the top and insane that I can't just help but love it. I mean, the opening scenes of Mori and Jegal fighting and him getting the Monkey King powers and fighting against all of those giant monsters that he was summoning was nothing short of spectacular and really awesome looking. It just sort of disconnects you a little bit when you see the more grounded fights from the beginning of the series, which are definitely more realistic in terms of what they're actually trying to pull off here, but it's very obvious that the God of High School was definitely going to be getting away with that, or getting away from that, I should say, as the series was actually building up to more of this like grander storyline and building up this brand new world, as there's still so much mystery about like really what's going on here. I mean, they bring up the fact that all of those characters were transported to what I thought originally was just another part of the planet. Apparently it's a place called the Holy Realm. So there's going to be all of these like different realms and places that the characters are going to visit and adventures they're going to go on, new people to fight, new abilities to have, new friends, new enemies to make. That's basically what this entire arc is promising us, is that it's really just getting started. And I really hope they didn't blow their load too early, because this was a really fantastic finale and a really great fight, but if they can manage to keep it this quality and make it this entertaining as it goes on, I'm very excited to see what's going to happen next. Otherwise, it was fun. That's really the only way to describe it. It's just fun, classic, awesome anime action. It's popcorn entertainment at best, though. I will say that while I did enjoy the action from The God of High School, the story did not completely blow me away. It hasn't completely sucked me into a sense where, like, I must see what's going to happen next. I'm more than willing to wait to see what's going to happen here, and I do hope that the series is going to return. It still managed to be my favorite action anime this season, but it's not my favorite show of the season. If anything, I looked forward to watching every single episode just to see what was going to happen next and to experience some raw, awesome, crazy action with absolutely no restraint. Again, it got kind of muddled in its storytelling and its explaining and all of the weird jargon that they throw out there that they don't seem to want to explain. Again, I think it's the type of show that's definitely going to appeal to people who actually read the manhwa, the Korean manga, whatever you want to call it. I think they're going to get more out of this than a lot of people. But I still see the potential for The God of High School for the future, for it becoming a really popular anime series and gaining a lot of fans. Again, it's not reinventing the wheel. It's the same old cheeseburger that you've ever eaten before, but hey, cheeseburgers are pretty freaking good overall. And this was a pretty satisfying anime series, I have to say. Really, there's so much more potential for it, but we're just going to have to wait and see what sort of fruit it is going to bear. For now, it was a pretty fun experience, and I can't wait to see more of the adventures that Mori and his friends are going to go on, all the crazy fights they're going to have, and to see a lot more of this really creative world. Overall, I liked the final episode of the season. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I'm not going to give it anything perfect because there really wasn't that much to it, and I felt that a lot of the stuff at the end felt incredibly rushed to the point where you're simply just going to have to rewatch the episode again to sort of get some of the finer details out of it. That being said, still entertaining as all get out, and if you're looking for a brand new action anime series, you'd be hard-pressed to find anything better than The God of High School. Don't overthink it, just sit back, relax, and watch some really kick-ass anime action. That's what it's all about, guys. I loved it. I hope you guys liked it, but maybe you didn't. Maybe you're indifferent. I'd love to get your thoughts about this episode of The God of High School and the entire season overall, and telling me what you hope to see from the potential future of the franchise. Let's have a discussion all about that and this final episode in the comment section below. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel for more anime reviews just like this one. Brand new season is about to begin. If you guys have any episodes or series that you want me to look at, please sound off in the comment section. Give me a request, because there's definitely a few shows that I'm going to be watching this season, some of which I'm very excited about. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you did like this video, use your godlike Monkey King powers to hit that like button. It really helps out these videos a lot. I also want to thank all of my patrons who've been checking out my Patreon page. You guys are gods in and of yourselves. You guys are so awesome making monthly donations and watching my content. I can't thank you enough for that. Remember, first-time donators, I'll review an anime series of your choice. I would also love to add your name to this list of super awesome people who support this channel every single day. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. I'll see you all next time. And as always, stay down there, baby.